Today is July 2nd, 2023, and this is your daily Half Life 3 update. There is no news about Half Life 3. So, since I'm gonna be seeing the new Indiana Jones movie sometime next week, there are two things I wanted to talk about in preparation for this movie. Uh, First thing is, you know, they're allowed to make cheap movies, right? Like, I see a lot of people talking about online about how this Indiana Jones movie is $300 million budget. That's absurd. Like there's no reason for this movie to be that expensive, especially when the CGI is probably going to be looking like crap. Like, I mean, look at the Flash. The Flash was $300 million and it looked terrible. Like, where are you spending that money on? Because you're clearly not spending it on CGI. You can make movies cheap. I mean, when you add in the marketing budget to this movie, which generally doubles the budget, this movie's gonna like do a little bit more than break even, right? It's not gonna be crazy successful, but this movie's gonna top out at about like 700 million worldwide. That it's gonna hit around there. So it's most likely gonna be a box office disappointment. It won't be a flop because it'll at least break even, I believe, but it'll be a disappointment because it's not going to make what they need it to make, and they need it to make, probably, I would say they probably need it to make 1 billion. Again, like, 1 billion isn't breaking even. They don't want to break even with these movies. They want to make a lot of money. Uh, yeah, and then the second thing that I want to talk about is, over the years of watching movies, the general audience has not gotten stupider. When we see a young version of a character and that young version doesn't look identical to that old version of the character, we're not confused, right? We're not wondering, like, wait, who is this? Who is this supposed to be? Okay, when Last Crusade came out, we didn't question River Phoenix as young Indiana Jones, even though he didn't look identical to a young Harrison Ford, right? Uh, with the Indiana Jones TV show, we didn't question Sean Patrick Flanery when he was a younger version of Indiana Jones. I feel like they had like a bunch of Indiana Jones on that TV show. I know Harrison Ford made an appearance, and there was like an old guy with an eye patch who's older Indiana Jones as well. Uh, but yeah, we don't need to CGI de-age characters all the time. They're doing it with Star Wars. Like, every time Luke shows up now, it's got to be just de-aged Mark Hamill. Like, we understand. We understand that Harrison Ford is 80 and can't play himself as a 20-year-old anymore. If you had a new person come in, like, honestly, Anthony and Gruber, I mean, apparently he's in this movie just as like someone else, right? Uh, you just have him play young Indiana Jones, and we would accept that. We would understand that. Okay, he doesn't. You don't need to waste all this money de-aging Harrison Ford. It's just unnecessary. It's a movie. It's fictional. We understand. But yeah, that's just the rant for this. I think I'm gonna have more to rant about this movie. I'll save it for after I see it. Uh, there's one thing. There's one character, new character in this movie that Tobin Tobin not Tobin Bell. Tobin Bell is Jigsaw. Is it Toby Bell? I don't know. Like, just like the old friend of Indiana Jones who appears in the flashbacks we've seen in trailers. I have a problem with his inclusion and what I think they should have done instead of this character and what I thought they were going to do. And none of that made a whole lot of sense. But I'll talk about it when I actually see the movie. But that has been your daily Half-Life 3 update for July 2nd, 2023.